All right, cool. So let's just wait a few minutes to see if everyone is joining. Then I will introduce our special guest here today. So yeah, Benny is here. Bree, how's it going, everyone? Federico, hello. I know you're doing well, Eric. Yeah, that's why I don't ask.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Hey, Bree, how's it going?
It's going well. High
Right.
anticipation from the challenge, so I'm excited for today's show for a little break.
Oh yes, yes. We have the announcement tomorrow, like who win the challenge. That will be very exciting. Yeah, hold on, Bree. Where's everyone? Oh yeah. Well, like who didn't heard about Anderson these days on Twitter because he's doing amazing work there, right? And I just saw one of his demos, and I think he has some tutorials on Twitter. I'm sorry, on YouTube about how to do the things that he will show today. And well, I just got in touch with him and said, "Man, your work is amazing. Let's do some stuff together." And then yeah, we just everything worked very organically. We worked really well. We had fun, a lot of fun doing the demo that we're gonna show today on with the 3D stuff and Webflow. Yeah, yeah, here we are, and we I hope to collaborate more with him soon because he has some amazing skills and like we combining our skills together to make Webflow besides 3D. The it's my dream to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love 3D, but we all know that 3D is really complicated to to work for the web, right?
Yeah, totally. And I guess the universe kind of connected us because he was planning to create like a demo using a car, and this is the only demo that I did not released at that time. So I said, man, like it is a perfect timing because now we can do it together. And I'm I'm not that used to Webflow yet because I'm learning too many stuffs at the same time as anyone. So it is hard for me to really deep in. So Diego was like amazing collaborating with me in that project. So it was great. And in fact, I noticed his name first. So I reached him because I noticed his name on the Webflow newsletter, which I love every month. So I said, man, a Brazilian, like because it is a rare thing to have another like made from your country in Brazil doing this kind of stuff within Webflow. So I reached Diego.
Yeah, yeah, it was fate. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's get started. Let me just introduce our guest here. So, hello everyone, welcome to the Flow Party, and today we have he who revealed himself lately to be the sorcerer supreme of 3D for the web, and a fellow Brazilian, Anderson Mancini, and he will show us today a magic spell he created to reduce the amount of time you use to create amazing 3D experience with Webflow by, let's say, at least 80% of the time. And at the same time, having extremely realistic renderings, which sounds impossible, right? But he did it. And yeah, that's it. Anderson, thanks for coming. And I want to start this by having you like introducing yourself. Like, tell us your origin story, please. How you started working with for the web, and how you started doing 3D stuff.
Yeah, so thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry for my English, like it's not fluent, so sometimes I will break up, but I go. I think you guys can understand me. So I started doing 3D, and I would say 3D for the web at least 5 years ago. I was trying to achieve 3D for the web using Three.js and other libraries, and then like I have a background of being more a designer than a developer, so I can develop. I'm old, as you guys can see, 42 years old. So I started back from 20 years on doing internet stuff, doing websites in front page, and that nightmare of Internet Explorer and things like that. So I'm very old. So since that time, I was trying to make 3D for the web, but it was impossible because of the computers, the devices, and also because the development. So Three.js brought us the possibility to do it in a more, as I would say, easier way. But even with Three.js, it is hard to learn, and it is hard to put things out and ideas out. So I guess what I like and what I love to do is to use my ActionScript knowledge that I gained over, I would say, 15 years doing Flash websites, Macromedia Flash websites, and then Adobe Flash websites. And then I use all that knowledge that I had in the past, being a developer and a creative developer, to create now 3D experience for the web. So I can use my knowledge on code, which is not too much, but helps me to bring ideas out of my mind with the design. So I create the designs and the ideas and on how to use 3D for the web. Because what we mostly see on the web is 3D like rotating objects only. So, and it is so much like easier to do this kind of thing. But there are so many other possibilities when you understand what it is possible. And this is the gap, because designers don't understand the possibilities and developers don't have the ideas usually. So bringing those words together is the thing that I love to do. And to introduce like the Pixotronics, how I started doing things for the realistic side of the force using Three.js. And I met the creator, the Prashant and Palash. They are the creators of the Pixotronics. I saw many times like demos they were releasing in the web, and I got very excited because the realism and the easy you can achieve with that tool they are creating, it is amazing. Like getting the same result without their API, without their framework, is very hard. I tried many times, but it is hard. So
you wanna show the Pixotronics website, Anderson, so they know what you're talking about. And
yeah,
guys, the Pixotronics, let's say, is the secret sauce of this magic spell here. Like without Pixotronics, it will be extremely hard to achieve something as realistic as you were about to see with 3D. Like we all know that Three.js is already an abstraction of WebGI, but even being an abstraction of WebGI, it's extremely hard. Like he take like a lot of time to achieve something very minimal. And I think the Pixotronics game-changing thing, and Anderson discovered this and found like ways to integrate that with website. It's just amazing. Like let's have him showing the magic here.
Yeah. So to start, I'd like to like go to the website. Like in their website, you can already see the power of it. Everybody can see my screen already?
Yep. Yeah.
Great. So like what?
Yeah. Just
let me. I never use it now. Now it's better.
Yes, you can see everything. Yeah, don't worry. It's probably your first time using Butter. Don't worry.
Yeah. So for the website, you already can see the type of result you can get. So this is a video, but it is recorded using WebGI, using Pixotronics SDK, which is the name of the product. So to not be confusing, like Pixotronics is the name of the company who is developing WebGI. And WebGI is the framework, the 3D framework that enables you to render realistic models on the web without, like I would say, non-effort, because it is very easy. And this is what I will show here. But to make
before you start showing the Pixotronics, I'm going to paste the demo that me and Anderson we created on Webflow. And if you want to show the demo as well, like this is what we did. And then after that, you will show how to do the same.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm loading the clonable that we created together here. So this is the one. So let me just, hide this one. It starts like a normal website, and I like to create things that surprises the user. So you see an image, and you can see a marquee text. So it seems pretty boring. But as you start to scroll, you can control the animation and the mask animation during the scroll, and then you have the content. And as you scroll, you have the interactivity happening. You have this beautiful model of this car, which is from Sketchfab. The credits is on our hamburger menu there. So everybody can have the same model. And then when you reach a certain point of the page, like we can give the user the ability to play themselves. So it is not a scrollable experience anymore. Now you can drag the car where you want. You can zoom in, and you can have this beautiful render because it is very realistic. You can have this like reflection on the floor. All those things are very hard to achieve without WebGI, without Pixotronics framework. And I will show you the difference between the Three.js default renderer and by using this one. Like by default, WebGI is so much like realistic, and it is easy to use. But this is the clonable that me and Diego created together, and it is free for clone to everybody who wants to create the page same like as this. Just clone, you can see the source code, and then you can change. And this is what we are going to do like here today. I will transform this same page in another page using WebGI and changing the model, and see you guys how it works.
Nice, yeah. So just observation, when he said source code, don't worry, because it's not like thousands of lines or something extremely complicated like when you're dealing with Three.js. It's very simple. It's basically just loading the library, URL, and just a bit of GSAP sauce for the scrolling behavior. That's it. So it's magical.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you can go ahead and show like what is the workflow like. Where do you start like creating something like this, like grabbing the model and loading into the WebGI tool? Go ahead.
Perfect. So let me bring like an URL. I guess it is here. Yeah. So I always start by modeling something, this is not the model. I'm sorry, I need to dig in my history, because I have a model that I want to show you guys how I started. Just 1 minute. I was sure that I copied the right link, but it seems it is not. Oh God. I don't know why, but I cannot find the model here that I want to show like the owner. But
don't worry, just breathe. Like find other model if you want. Like
I can show the model by default on Three.js. I guess it would be better. Like this model here, this Sydney apartment, department, it came from Sketchfab. So I found a model that I wanted to show you guys today. And there are many like other models there you can download and you can use, or you can model. So for production products, for production websites and webs and projects that I develop, I create the model in Blender or Cinema 4D. Sometimes the clients already have the model. So in this case, I'm using a demo purpose, like already made model, okay? So I will do the same thing twice. First in default Three.js renderer, so you guys can see what happens and how this model looks when you download from the Sketchfab. So every Three.js scene needs at least an ambient light to be able to see things there. So this is the default renderer for Three.js scene. So which it is pretty good already, because you can see the lights. They are using here in this model a technique which is called baking light. So you freeze the lighting system and all the texture into the textures of the model. So that's why you can get this beautiful light coming out from the light source, and you can see the reflection or the eminence of the light on the walls, which is pretty good. But you have no reflections at all. So for a scene like this to be at least a little bit more realistic, you need to have reflections. And this is the tricky part. When you have something like this and you want to put reflections on the floor and on the walls and between objects, this is very hard to achieve using default Three.js, because this is a post-processing method. So you need to render your scene using Three.js, and then you need to enable post-processing to get reflections. And this is where the most of people don't achieve that, because it's not easy to achieve. And I will do the same using WebGI, okay? Sorry if I talk like too fast. Sometimes I lost track of the time, but it is good. It is good to understand.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah. Okay, so I will do the same. I will just grab the model, but this time using using WebGI. Okay. Let me show how to reach this here, this address, so you guys can you just go to the Pixotronics documentation, the WebGI website. Then you can click either on editor here or on this last version here. They will direct you both to the same place. So you already have the editor. All you have to do is drag a model here. So once you have your model, you download it from let's say Sketchfab or any other place. You just drag and drop it here. And by default, you get reflections. So this is the default rendering for WebGI, which is way much better. As you can see the reflections on the floor, and there are so many other things here that you can have and you can do by default, which is amazing. So I will show some of them so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. For example, if I want to make this light here to be even more brighter, to have that glow effect that really seems like a light, what you can do is just click on the model itself inside the WebGI, and then you can change all the parameters for this material. For every material you can click on, basically. So I will go to emission, then I will make this let's say yellowish light, and then I will increase the emissive intensity. And as you can see, you can feel that light. It is way much prominent now. You can see it better. You can see also the reflection of that light on the wall. And let's do the same for the floor. So for example, I can see the reflection already, but it is not that much. So I will make this even more visible. I will go to roughness here, and I drop the roughness. So as you drop the roughness, you can get a more reflexive floor. So now you can see everything like on the floor, because I made the reflection on the floor more intense by dropping the roughness. So all of those parameters, you don't need a 3D software. So as a designer, when I want to put my ideas out, I don't have time to be on a 3D software, then again back to the web, to the Three.js part, and then go back and forth. Using this method, using this framework, you already can do everything you want and the change you want in a browser. So it is amazing. So let's, for example, make this here, like this, another texture here. I will try to make it like more kind of a light, yeah, and also make the intensity. Now you have like a glowing effect, and those little touches, it's what makes the scene pops out. Now you can see like the reflection on the floor for that specific object, and like you can do this all day if you want, like changing. I'm just changing it because I downloaded it from directly from the Sketchfab, and the way it looks, I wanted to make it more like metal for some parts, but you can change whatever you want in your browser. And let me explain what is happening here to make this more like realistic. There is a lot of, as Diego said, the magic sorcery behind it, because what Pixotronics did, in fact, was to create a renderer that can render post-processing almost in real time. I would say sometimes it is even better than my Blender rendering, which is not in render, like in real time. So when you go to post-processing tab here, you can see all the post-processing you can enable, and some of them are enabled by default, like a screen space reflection. This is the magic name that if I turn this off, you lose all the reflections. So this is the default Three.js renderer without this post-processing, and this is the screen space reflection. The same happens, for example, for the ambient occlusion. For those are not familiar with this name, ambient occlusion generates shadows between close objects. So like this here, when you disable it, you get like a drawing, because it looks like not realistic at all. Because in real life, all the objects generates ambient occlusion. So this is when you enable, makes total difference. And I'm speaking too fast, I'm sorry.
No, you're doing very well. Yeah,
okay, so this is the kind of thing that you can achieve, in fact, without using WebGI, for example. But the problem I faced as being a designer and not a developer full-time, I tried, but it is hard, because when you enable like both of these post-processing effects using default Three.js, you start to getting lost of performance. So your frame rate, your FPS, as in game, you get a drop on the FPS when you enable screen space reflection and depth of field and ambient occlusion. So you get lost of frame rate. And I don't know what kind of black magic WebGI is doing and the guys on Pixotronics is doing, but they are doing a great job, because you can enable and use all of those beautiful effects at the same time without losing performance. So this is the magic happening for the WebGI. And let me show you one that I love, which is depth of field. This one is very hard to achieve, even on Blender and Cinema 4D. So you can enable here, and you can choose to focus your camera here, and you already can see all the background is blurred now, and you can choose the scale. So for example, as a designer, if I want to talk about this specific object in my scene, this is crucial. And this is the kind of thing that like we miss when we do Three.js by default, because when you render something like this, you lose this perspective storytelling. because you don't have the ability to change the focus like on real time. Now I want to talk about the TV. Now I want to talk about this cup. So this kind of thing is very powerful for design. And from what I researched, like being a designer and not a developer, this is the best one that I could find, like this kind of post-processing. And this is one of them that they have, and they are always adding more and more. Now they have like this chromatic aberration, which is also amazing because you can get this color distortion on the edges, which is not looking good in this scene, but for the current scene, for example, it's a game changer. You have, for example, the vignette is another effect that you can use to tell stories. So you can focus more, for example, on that light specific, and all the edges are darker. So we can use all these effects and all these parameters dynamically and change the scene and change the aspect of the scene of we want to talk about. And this is the default framework and workflow for Pixotronics. So you drop the model, you change parameters you want, and then comes the second part, that it is a mix between Webflow and Pixotronics. So if we can
dive into that, like just one comment. Everyone saw here that it took literally like 5 minutes for him to just drop a file on this WebGI user interface and turn this into extremely realistic rendering. And it's in real time, which means that you have great performance, very realistic 3D scene. And the cream of the crop for me is what I will ask you to show next, Anderson, which is how you animate the camera with Pixotronics.
Perfect. So this is another great feature because like most of the time, what you want is to animate the camera. You need to get the positions of the camera, but it's very tricky doing this in like an external, like in a Blender, because the position don't match. So this is the problem that I faced when I started like 1 year ago doing Three.js stuff. So when I found this is, I would say, it is the missing interface for the Three.js. So if I want, for example, my scene, my website to start in a camera like this, let me just change a little bit the field of view so we can see more of the scene. So here, I want my website to start here. So this is the first camera position, okay? When you go to animations and camera views, you can add this current view as the first camera. So you already can see here, it is a screenshot recorded for this camera view. And I want another one, like I want a transition for this camera to, for example, this camera here to be seated on the sofa watching TV. You go to animations again, and then you add current view again. So now you have two camera views. You can change between them. So you can click on focus view on each one of them, and you have your animation. So this is how the camera will animate using GSAP as we scroll through them. So this, and it is that easy to create a camera.
Yeah, this is how we created on the Cloneable. We created those multiple views, like as you start scrolling the page, the card is on a specific position, then it rotates and zoom in, zoom out, and changes. It's just this, like it's a collection of cameras. It's like snapshots of the camera, and Anderson will show other things, but there are other features on Pixotronics and this WebGI SDK here that can be really useful. For example, I think you can create like interactive 3D stuff, for example, right?
Yeah, you can also create like configurators for a specific scene. I will not do this like in today because it is not too complex, but it's more complex. But using this interface, you can create like options for objects. For example, I want this neon-like texture to be purple and green and yellow, and I can give the user the ability to create those multiple like differences in in this interface here. I don't have to code anything, which is pretty amazing. And I'm seeing things all the time. Like, I'm sure that you guys are not familiar with Three.js workflow, but Three.js don't have an interface. Like, you can see things before rendering them, like we are doing here. So basically, you do everything in the code, and you hope they seem like you expect, like you set up into the code, but you really need to dive deep in the code and be like an expert in understanding those parameters. For example, when I change this emissive material, I have no idea before seeing it if 1.2 is too strong or is it too low, too weak. Like, you need to test, save, render, see. No, it's not good. Go back to code, change again, render again. And I've been doing this like over and over for my scenes. And now I have like a real-time editor that I can see everything I'm doing in real time, which is only this is already mind-blowing. But there are so many things inside this framework. And let me say, I'm not the owner of Pixotronics. I'm not related with them in a relationship of partnership or anything like this. I'm doing this because I love this. I'm really doing this because I really love the guys behind this, because they saved my time so many times that I had to show to the world what they are doing. So I'm very enthusiastic for this project.
Oh, yeah. So I think that someone has a question, right? Where is Shalom?
Hi.
Shalom, do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. So does this support on click, on hover, X, Y, mouse movement interactions?
So you say the Maximo animations system for character moving, right?
Right. So like mouse position, like X and Y position of like the mouse movement, on click interaction. Does it support that?
Yeah, like let me see if I got you right. So you have options here. So you can, for example, enable like auto rotate, or you can also enable, let me see here, that like there are many things inside here. So sometimes even it is hard for me to find all of them.
I think that what he asked is, like, for example, when you're on website, you have a 3D model, and depending on the mouse position, the model like rotates, for example.
Like this.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It is this option here, seek on scroll.
Yeah, just a toggle.
Yeah, it's just a toggle. Yeah. Like you can do this by your code using Three.js code, because like WebGI, it is based on Three.js, so it's not a different thing. Like Three.js is the engine behind Pixotronics. What Pixotronics is doing is to create like a rendering system, a better rendering system, and a better management for the assets and for everything in using Three.js. So everything that works in Three.js will work perfectly on Pixotronics. They are the same, okay? But this one here is only like a toggle.
Wow, got it.
Great.
Okay.
All right. So I think that now that you gave them like a sense of the power of the WebGI system, maybe it's time to show them like how you take this scene you imported here and like include it into a Webflow project and start using something on Webflow like GSAT and all that stuff. So it's time to shine. Make Webflow shine.
So I will use this same file that we are working on here. Like everything you need to do, like what is another beautiful thing they spent a lot of time working with. Every time you export a file from the WebGI, it records all the configurations you have worked with in this interface. So all these camera positions will be recorded in the file. So we need to do a very small step first, which is replacing the environment, because like this is a tricky part, but when you go to the scene here and you go to environment and background, you can change a lot of things here, like the intensity of the light, the rotation of the environment, and many other things here. But there is one important thing, that is this environment data texture here, because they are using like a environment from their server. So if you do not replace this, when you get this file and using Webflow, we will lose this environment light. So you get like a scene like this, all black. Only the emissive lights will be visible. So you need to remove this image here, and then I will replace by an image from my computer, which is already downloaded, okay? It is a pretty normal, like HERR image, like from any website you want. So it is a 1.6 megabyte file. And then it is, nothing had changed, but now this texture, this environment texture is embedded inside this file. So this is the only first important step you need to do. And then you go to export, asset export, GLB export. I will enable Draco compression just to get a smaller file size file. And then you click on export GLB. And you already have like the downloaded file. I guess I already have one here. So let me just open mine. Yeah, I'll get this one here that we just downloaded. And I will rename this for like room 3 here. So if I close this, like I don't have that scene anymore. So when I open the editor again, I can now get this file that I downloaded, like this room 3. When I drag it there, everything will be back what I was working, like all the texture, all the camera positions, everything will come back. Or it should. Maybe my internet is broken. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess it is probably my computer.
No, I can see everything perfectly.
Yeah, I don't know why it is not loading like the scene again, because it should. I'm doing the same steps that I do when I do my stuff. So I just drag and drop the file again, just to show that everything is recorded on that file. But I don't know why, what it is happening. It is not working. So let's move forward, and then eventually we can go back.
No worries. Yeah, that's all it happens when we're live, right?
Yeah. So what I do first, like I need to host this file, because like Webflow, you cannot host a GLB file inside the Webflow templates and Webflow infrastructure. So what I do to make things easier, I host this file in some other server just to get the full link without the problem of CORS and permissions on the internet. So I already have like a simple glitch website here. It is a, see this as a FTP server, okay? I'm just doing it in glitch because it is free and because it is easier. So
yeah, I think that people here are more used to use Code Sandbox, but it's the same thing. Like Code Sandbox, which you can do the same kind of thing. You just drop the files there and you can use them as assets.
Exactly. So all you have to do is to drag and drop this file on the assets for the Code Sandbox or glitch or any other, that you can get the full link of this file. And we have it here. I click and then I copy this URL. As you can see, is a CDN. So you have a full link for this file. And then you go to the Webflow. I already cloned that one that we created together, Diego. I just changed the names and the texts, but they are the same website. I guess you guys are familiar how to clone a project in the Webflow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me show how it is working now. So what I did here. So now we have the same page with the same car, including the name here. They are all the same, but we have a different text. So instead of saying Giotto, it is saying something like different. I only changed the texts for it, but we have the car. So I want to replace this car, but for our model, our real model. Now, all you have to do, you go to the pages section here, go to the edit page settings, and here you have the secret ingredient to get this working. Which is very simple. Like, it is only one line of code. This is the line responsible for rendering the viewer for the WebGI. So you include this in your head tag, and you already have like the viewer. And all you have to do is to declare a very small amount of code here, like an object, I would say a tag for the viewer, passing the viewer ID, the styles of it, which is inline here in this case, and the URL for source is the source for the model. As you can see here, I'm using the final.glb. I will change this by the new one that I copied from the other website. Save it. Let's publish it again. And hopefully it is done. Yes, it is done. Easy as that. And what we have as a problem, like, or a side effect, that it's now the camera positions are based on the car scene. So when I scroll, I can see the camera moving already, but it is moving to a wrong position because we need to set up everything for this specific scene, but it is already working. So in the end, I can explore as the car, like the room behaves like the car, but it is a room. And I did this intentionally because I want to show you guys that you don't need to think about only an object. You can do this for an entire scene like I'm doing here, and it works the same. Like, I only changed one line of code, like the source file for the scene.
Anderson, Anchor here is asking for you to show again, like, how you integrate a 3D model with the viewer. Like, so just show that piece of code and what you did to replace the car. Just go to the Webflow project and show how it's done.
Okay. Like here, like in the...
Yeah, first you import the library, right, on the top.
Yeah,
WebGI library. And then at the bottom, you have inside before the body tag, you include, this is like it's kind of a web component. I don't know. You just copy that piece of code based on Webflow and replace the source to the file you just included on Glitch or Code Sandbox. It's the file you exported from the WebGI interface.
Yeah, exactly. And all of this, by I forgot to mention, it is on the documentation, right? So I learned how to do this with a lot of effort from the Pixotronics guys, because like I said, I'm not a developer, so reading documentation is very, very hard for me, but they helped me a lot in their Discord channel. So, but when you go to the get started, this is what I did, and this is what they instructed me to do. Like, put this on your head tag and put this on your body, and that's it. So what we are doing here is expanding it using GSAP to animate. But if you do only this, you already have the scene from the Pixotronics running on your page. It is that simple. This is the amount of code you need to do to get the viewer for your website, like a background for your website, interactive. So it is very simple. It is way much simple to have this in default Three.js. Like, for a default Three.js scene, you would have to get at least 100 lines of code to get the same result to render something. So here they are abstracting everything. So this WebGI component here, it creates the canvas, it creates the renderer, creates the camera, creates the orbit controls. Everything is contained inside this small piece of code here. Then you pass the source, and you can pass a lot of other parameters here. So they have a very huge documentation, how to do it, how to expand, how to get things even in more advanced way, which I'm not very experienced yet, but I'm learning a lot always. So all of that came from here, okay?
Good. Now let's check the next steps. Like, how do you grab the cameras you configure on WebGI and replace here on the Webflow project, so the animations work the way you want it to work?
Yeah, perfect. So what we have here more, like for a code, is to import those two libraries, the GSAP animation and the Scope Trigger. And we use this to create like an advanced script here. So what this script is doing is like declaring variables and to make like a loader and to set up a scene in using Three.js and Pixotronics to be able to animate the camera. So don't be afraid to read this code because it is not that much advanced. But the most important part you need to change is this part here, which says first section. So this is the first section animation. So when we scroll, the first scroll here, I don't want the camera to be in this position here. I want to have this here in the position that I set up on my file on the Pixotronics. So let's go back to the editor. Now I need the editor to work because I need to see the camera position. And I don't know why it is not happening. Oh, God. Let me try again, like in another version, because sometimes it is the version.
Yeah, it could be.
Let's, no. Let me drag another, like the default file to see if it works. Because maybe they are facing some, yeah, don't know why. But whatever, we can do with this one, and then I show how to change things there. So I'm back with the default file, okay, without those changes, but doesn't matter because we only need the camera positions. So we already have the first position. I will set up the second one. So the second one, I want to be like this here, from this position, to be watching the television sort of like here. So all I have to do is go to animations, camera views. I will add the current view. And now when I open this here, I can see the positions for the camera and for the target. So just for you guys to understand, the camera in Three.js is made by two parts. You have the target, which would be the point that camera looks at, and then you have the position for the camera. You need to change both to move the camera. If you only move the camera, it will only be seeing the same thing. And I changed the thing the camera are looking at because I moved the camera using the editor. So all you have to do is to copy and paste the position values for X, Y, and Z, and also the target. So I will do it here in our Webflow. I am not using like a huge monitor, so I will try to make a split screen very roughly here so we can get the positions. So the first position I want the camera to move, and the target will be now -0.2, -0.1, and Z would be 0.6. So those values here for the position are the same as those one there. And here for the target, it is the same. Like we can do 0.6. Sometimes I make the numbers like more exact. It don't need to be too precise. if you don't want, but you can do it if you want. So I changed for the first camera position. Let's see how it works. I will save this. I will publish it again. And hopefully we can see. Yeah, it is done. As you can see, the second position for the camera is in the place that I told the camera to go. So if you use this clonable, it makes it even easier because you don't even need to understand what is happening with all those things that are more advanced. You just need to change the camera position and the model. Let's fix this other one here because it's very creepy looking behind the model. So it is the same. I will make now the camera look like, let's say, from here. Yeah, let's make this. So add current view. I have another view here. I already have new values. All the things, again, go to the page configuration. Now you need to search for the second position. Like you have the first section, the second section. Now the new values will be -4, -0.3, -0.7, and also the target the same. So there is a way that I never tried, but Pixotronics guys told me you can really read the camera position inside the file, so you don't need to change them manually. I never could do it because I don't have that much knowledge in code, but I'm pretty sure you guys as developers can find a way. It is in the documentation how you can read the camera's position, because the camera's positions are defined in this file that are imported. But I'm doing it manually to show you guys how to do it, and because I never done it before, but I know it is possible. So you don't even need to copy and paste those values. So now the third camera position is done, easy as that. And this is the process. Like, I will not change the last one, but the process is the same. And when you reach the end of the page, you have this explore, so you can drag and drop. We can make this explore happening inside and not from outside like it is beginning. It is all the same process. Like those positions for explore are also defined in our function here. So as you can see, the explore, you have the camera position. You make the camera go when you press explore. You just need to change those parameters here for the X, Y, and Z, and then you will be seeing the object, the camera, from inside the model. But this is the process. Easy as that. I don't know. You guys can see me?
Hello?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh yeah, I was muted. Sorry.
No problem.
I was saying like while you were scrolling on the page, like the camera was there, but you couldn't interact with the 3D object. And then once you click on the explore button, then it turns into a 3D model that you can explore and rotate, etc. So can you just show like how much code you need to switch that, like between the view that just follow the cameras, then the view that you can just explore the model?
Yeah, let me show you. I accidentally closed my Webflow. So it is in fact like a CSS trick, because what we need to do is to change the pointer events for the div. So what we are doing here, let me show. So when we click, it is already, it is sharing my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we have a function here that you can see as the Explore, what I do is to make the pointer events on the, let's say, the viewer. I make the pointer events all. So I give the browser the possibility to interact again with the viewer. And I turn off the pointer events on the body. So it is that easy. And then we animate the camera to a specific position. So we just change the possibility to interact in the viewer, and then we disable the body. And when we click exit, it is the same, but the opposite direction. When we click exit, it is here somewhere. Webflow is saying it is kind of fixing something there. Yeah, I guess it is here. No, sorry, it is up.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, it's here.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, so the button exit, it is doing the same, but the opposite direction. I am removing the pointer events on the element. Element in this case is the viewer, okay? And then we give the ability to the body, again, to have the pointer events. And then I change the cursor, because when you click on the editor, on the Explore button, you can see the cursor change for a hand instead of this pointer cursor here. So you in fact can do this in the editor.
But what I meant is, like, if you go back to the Webflow project, yeah, you see that line called viewer.scene.activeCamera.set camera options. The last line on this block. This is what enabled the control on the 3D scene. So it's just a line of code. You can enable and disable that control with just one line of code. So as Anderson said before, we have WebGL. On top of WebGL, we have Three.js, which is already an abstraction. And on top of Three.js, which is already complicated, we have the WebGI library, which is another layer abstraction and make things extremely easy. It's like one line of code, you enable and you disable the controls, and you can just move and rotate and zoom in, zoom out the scene. It's amazing. Like, less code is always make us happier, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this, in fact, is also from their documentation. They show how to enable things, how to disable. You have a lot of options that I never used them. But for example, let me show what I'm doing here. So like in this line here, I'm changing parameters for the post-processing effects to get more performance, because like for default, this one here is about 2, and I guess this one here is about 4. So for example, the number of interactions on a bloom post-processing can impact performance. So to improve performance, I'm getting the active post-processing from their library, using their documentation and saying, set this to 2 to drop the quality, but you can see this drop of quality. And then you can get better performance, especially on mobile, which is pretty amazing, because the majority of things that I saw using post-processing in Three.js, when you go to the mobile version of them, they are very expensive. Like, you get your cell phone like a hot thing. It is very hard to process, and their library can do it very easily, even doing post-processing. So it is amazing. And it is that simple. Like, we just created another project, another completely different page, just by changing the texts and changing the model. And you can see the model from inside, which is pretty amazing. And this is the one thing that I wanted to show you guys. Like, don't think about 3D on the web, especially things like this, only being able to render objects like a car, like a mouse, like a watch. I created a bunch of demos using objects, but you can do like so much more. Like, let me show one here. So in this one here, you have like a pretty normal page, like a pretty normal website, which when you move your mouse, you can notice that it is moving, but looks like a video, like a parallax page. But as you scroll, you notice something different. Like, how can this be a video if I can scroll and interact with this? And it is a pretty normal website until the end. In the end, I ask for the user, do you want to explore? When you click on explore, then I transform this into an object. And it is in auto rotate mode. You can rotate around. And I want to see this from inside. You can click and you can go inside the apartment with all the reflections, all the lights happening, all in real time. So this kind of possibility, I would say, was never imagined, I would say, before the 3D on the web. Because doing this in a video way would not enable the user to get this kind of experience. So it is start like boring because it's just a background, but you can use the same object that is in the background to interact with the user as the interaction happens. And this is the kind of thing that I love to do, to surprise the user and to make things pop out in their mind. And this is in fact not using WebGI, okay? This one is using pretty normal Three.js stuff. This one is not WebGI based, which is, when I created this one, I never heard about Pixotronics before. If I had to do this now, I would do this like in a half of the time at least. So it took me 3 weeks to create this model and to create this design, this page, and those interactions. But with Pixotronics would take like even less.
Maybe a few hours.
Maybe
right?
a few hours.
That go really well with the Webflow model, because with Webflow, you don't have to spend time like months designing website, and designing hours, maybe days. So I think Pixotronics and Webflow, they go really well together. As you can see on the example we created, like all the interactions are done with Webflow. A bit of code to integrate Webflow and the Pixotronics thing, and the realistic rendering all done with Pixotronics. So it's an amazing possibility now to explore 3D with Webflow interactions. Like, you can go crazy. The sky is the limit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the idea. I'm like trying to give the power to the community to create more things like this, because we need to kind of push forward the possibilities. Like, clients sometimes don't think about those possibilities because they never saw something before, or because they think it is not possible. It would be too heavy. It would be not running on their old computers. But it is a real possibility. Like, computers can do this for at least 10 years now. So they are very much more capable than before. So we as designers, we need to take it further, and we need to get the client's ideas and say, we can do this. But it was hard without Pixotronics to know the possibilities. So what I do now, for be real for you guys, when clients ask me for projects, I first create ideas using the Pixotronics to see the possibilities and to see if it is possible and if it will look good. And then I say to them, we can do it. And here is how we can do it. When I show this, they already saw the thing. They already saw the product. They want, because I created in them, they desire. They never thought would be possible. So it is having this power. It is amazing. And it is free to use. It is not free for commercial projects. So in their documentation, you can check for their pricing list and the pricing plans. It is free for creating demos and for production projects. For production projects for clients, you just ask for a pricing, and they will evaluate with you and your client the amount of usage and the period of time, and they make a very good price. Because again, you having this possibility and having this as being able to use this kind of thing will make you and your clients so much more like delivering things faster with them not using Pixotronics. So I would say go for it, try it out, make things using it, and eventually, if you want to make it a production, you can get your client direct in the contact with the Pixotronics guys, and they can discuss about the pricing. But the idea is already in their minds, and especially the possibilities is already on their minds.
Yeah, that's it. So, Josh, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, that's awesome. Just curious on the performance-wise, like loading up that real estate website. Like, is it pretty heavy or it's pretty light?
It is 1.2 megabytes, all the website. Like if you load a video of that building, it will be huge. I tried.
Crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Like the magic behind it is something called like Draco compression. So when you do things in 3D, which is heavy, it's two things: the model itself, like the meshes, and also the textures. So this Draco compression, it is a plugin for most of the softwares today, like Blender, Cinema 4D. They have plugins to export GLB models, which is the format for the web, using Draco compression. So that building model in a memory, let's say, after decompressing it, it has 7 megabytes, I guess. I can't remember exactly, but I guess it is 7 megabytes. But with Draco compression, it is 1.2 megabytes. So sometimes it's hard for me to believe that it is possible to have this kind of very small file size with interactivity and with all those possibilities.
Okay, and one more question, follow up. Like for mobile use, can you have manipulation, interactivity with the thumb and like scrolling around? Because that's like unheard of. Like this is a game changer. Crazy.
Yeah, no, you can. Mobile, it works the same. They are working, I know, in something for the XR and AR, but I don't know the point they are developing it, but I know they are developing it. But it works very good on mobile. You can go to my website, like neurotix.com/lab. You can see a bunch of things that I created using both WebGI and Three.js stuff, using like optimizing for mobile. And it is pretty like crazy because you can do some things like loading a different model for a specific device. For example, if the model is too heavy to be on a mobile device, you can change the model only on a mobile device to another one. I have a video on my Twitter and also on my YouTube channel. I'm loading my most complex scene, which is the Wineland one that I created using Three.js. I'm using that on a smartwatch, on a Galaxy smartwatch. So that is mind-blowing because if that kind of thing, Win3D Interact, can run on a smartwatch, imagine what you can do on a mobile. If you guys never saw it, you can go to my YouTube channel and search there for Wineland, and also the video for Wineland on smartwatch. That is mind-blowing. I have to try again because I never developed another project using Three.js and smartwatch, but it's very promising. The only problem is the screen. Like I did it only for study because who in the hell would have to use the 3D on a smartwatch?
Yeah, thank you. If you can share your website link or if someone has it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just shared his YouTube channel. Like, make yourself a favor and watch because there's a lot of cool stuff there. He including a course. He's doing a course on like this whole thing, like creating the 3D models, the step by step, and doing the whole website. It's amazing. So just do yourself a favor and watch because it's really good.
Yeah, when I started that course, I never considered to create that course using Webflow. Now I'm considering it because I would say, to be honest, it took me more time to create that things using like pretty normal web CSS and JavaScript and HTML, then Webflow. Like with Webflow, we cut the time for the interface. And WebGI, you cut the time with the 3D and Three.js. So now I can do things like way much faster than before. When I started, it took me like a month to create something using Three.js and JavaScript and CSS and HTML.
Yeah. So guys, I said I promised you wouldn't want to miss this one, right? So it's magic, like the best of both worlds. Interactions with Webflow, the speed, the speed of the process of building a website Webflow, along with the WebGI thing, which like you have an interface, you just drop your model there, configure materials, configure environments, post processing, all in like, I don't know, 5 minutes. You can do something really good in 5 minutes there, and just embedding Webflow website. So I promise you, this will be amazing. This party, and it is. You see the magic. I told Anderson is the sorcerer supreme of 3D right now. He's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy.
No.
Follow him on Twitter. Subscribe to his channel because he's doing amazing stuff. Don't want to miss it.
Thank you, and I'm here to help. Like I'm also like a CTO of a company, Neltix in Brazil, which is a UX and UI agency, and we do this for a living for clients. So I do this in my normal job, but for fun, I love to create Three.js stuff. I love to teach other people. That's why I created this channel. That's why I created this course, which is very specific. It is not a Three.js course, because for Three.js course, I would say there is no course better than the Bruno Simon course. This is the one that enables me to create stuff, because let me tell a little bit of the story very quickly. When I started trying to learn Three.js, I gave up like 10 times because I said, man, is it impossible to learn? Then I tried to hire some guys, and they said to me, man, like we can be hired for a Brazilian company because we are working abroad the world. So everybody wants Three.js stuff and WebGI and WebGL stuff, not WebGI, but WebGL stuff. So you can hire me. So I said, so I need to learn. And then I saw the Bruno Simon course. I enrolled myself October last year because we are in Brazil with the pandemic in a very low job situation, like no too much work to do. And I said, I will try to work again. And man, that course is amazing because it is not, I would say, a Three.js course. It is a way of learning course. Like with that approach, with the things that he teach us how to learn, enabled me to go further because I finished his course and then I started to research more, which more I could do. Then I created the Windland. Windland was my first project as a conclusion for his course. And then everything started. So if you really want to dive deep in Three.js thing, that course, it is a like perfect one. Because I say this to everyone. If I could learn as a designer and not a developer, imagine what a developer can do. And I'm in fact kind of making an obligation for my colleagues at Neltix. I said to them, you need to learn. So I will pay the course for you, and I will pay your salary so you can learn this using that course. Because please learn this. Because sometimes I struggle with code. I'm not that good. I'm a designer. So it is a miracle that I do what I do, I would say. It is because I'm old.
No, that's not true. It's because you have the spirit to learn. Like when you have the will to learn, keep learning, you can do amazing things, like just like you're doing right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that's it, guys. So like I said, follow him on Twitter, on YouTube. He's amazing. Also, let's show some love to the Pixotronics people because what they did with this WebGI thing, it's game changing. What you can do right now with 3D and Webflow, it's game changing. So let's show them some love. I shared the link to their Twitter on the chat as well. And now, well, we're open to questions. So feel free to ask any questions to Anderson here. And let's have some fun.
Yeah, Diego, can I ask a quick question?
Go
I was
ahead.
trying to export a scene from Cinema 4D. It was fine with the. By the way, Anderson, thank you for the tutorial. I've followed you along, and I've managed to do just one. To do my first one. So you're a very good teacher. So, obrigada.
Yes.
Que bom, muito bom ouvir isso. Very good to listen.
De nada. Obrigada aqui de Portugal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show. Let me show what you did, Maria.
Yeah, I'm already doing some. No, I've already messed more with it. You can see. I just did it, and the thing is, oh my god, it's here. Oh my god. Oh god, I've taken a step further because I was having trouble exporting a more complex scene, you know. So what I did is that was my question. When I export for Cinema 4D for more complex stuff, but I think I solved it. You have the chance to export as GLTF and GLB binary, and I was having trouble exporting the GLTF for larger models. So I exported in GLB. Is that right? Correct?
Yeah, like the difference between them, it's like GLB is a compressed file for everything. So you have one single file for textures and for the meshes. And this is, I would say, it is the perfect scenario because you are loading only one thing. GLTF is another possibility. So you have the mesh and the textures separated.
Baked, right? It bakes.
Yeah, like they are both, I would say, good. But you work with GLB files, the binary one, not GLTF. Because I'm lazy, I don't want to make it loading everything separately. I prefer to load one file, like a JPEG for a 3D file, and everything works.
Yeah, and the other problem I had was with glass textures. How do you go around that?
Yeah, like glass textures, they are tricky. Are you using WebGI or are you using Three.js, pure Three.js?
No, not pure Three.js. I just, with your tutorial, I just went to Cinema 4D, exported the model, and placed it. Just now, my knowledge is just.
Don't worry.
I'm your best student, right?
No, but it is. I never like displayed how to render glass on WebGI. Like I don't know if we have time, but I can show here how to do it very quickly.
Yeah, because
Eric calls the shots here. Yeah, Eric calls the shots here. So Eric, what do you think? Do we have time?
Yeah. Oh my God, we won't let Anderson leave.
Oh yeah, like I said, once you are on the party, you never leave.
Yes, it's the Webflow party loop.
Yes.
So let's see.
Another quick question, Anderson. Just when I change the perspective of a large model, how do I reset it really quickly to different views? Do I have to go around with the little arrow buttons? Or
I don't know if I got it, but let me see if I can.
Hold on. I was on the picking. I probably need to be.
Yeah. I'm trying to find at least one cup because I guess I had a file here with a cup, but let me search.
Yeah, because I had to change the texture of the first one because it was less and it didn't render well.
Yeah. You can also change the material inside WebGI, right?
Yeah. And this is what I want to show, but I need to find my file that I have like a glass object. But let's find one here, like on Sketchfab. Let's see one here, because it's faster to find on my computer.
I'm stuck on the top view. Why?
Maybe because you moved the camera.
Yes. How do I undo that?
Okay.
Sorry, it's another
Maria. Yeah, hold on, Maria. Let him show for the class stuff.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, we all know that this is very exciting. I was the same way when he showed me first how this whole thing worked. It's amazing.
Yeah. So now I just put like a glass here. We don't have, as you can see, any environment. So I will just place an environment here.
Right, I got the HDRI maps, right? It's sort of.
Yeah, this one is I brought from Sketchfab. Okay, just a pretty normal model.
Okay.
So I click it on the model, and the magic for glasses is here. So you need to go on blending, then you need to set up this as a transparent, and then you need to go to transmission thing, which is, let me find it. Sometimes I lose this.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is refraction here, transmission. So as you increase this transmission, it should be transparent. I don't know what is happening again because we are live, maybe, and I cannot get, no, because
Okay.
it was black. So there is
Awesome.
no light on it. So when you make this transmission, you can choose the thickness. So as you increase or decrease the thickness, you can already see the difference, like for the reflection here.
Right.
So, but
you
can set up this way much better than me, like, because I'm doing it live. So I guess I'm
of course. Yeah,
kind of nervous, but you have a lot of parameters here you can change to get a very great looking glass.
Yes.
Like, as you can see, it already looks better than before.
Yes.
Yeah, let me make this. Yeah, it is beautiful already. So let's
that's the magic with this, right? You can just load a model and start playing around with the controls and see what changes. Like, it's a visual, it's a user interface. Let's say for Three.js stuff, like instead of having to change code and see how it goes, you just change things around and see the results in real time. So that's why it cuts down so much time on the development process for 3D stuff.
Exactly. And there are so many other possibilities I'm not showing here, but like there are lights that you can add. You can get real time, like contact shadows, like we are doing here. Like it is amazing. Like I will never say thank you enough for the WebGI guys to creating this, and also for Three.js, because Three.js in the end, it is what enables everything that we are seeing here. So this very quickly, this is how you set up glass on WebGI.
And just teach me how to. I'm locked out on the top camera. How do I get unlocked out of top camera? I'm sorry.
You are like this. I would say, can you not rotate like this?
I know, because, well, I'm an overachiever, so I just imported a very, very large scene. Now I'm stuck.
Yeah, maybe like your camera, like when you import it, your camera is seeing your model from the top view. So you just move the camera here and export your file again.
Where do you move the camera?
Just click and drag. You just click and drag inside this viewer here.
Yeah, but it's not working. I messed up.
Yeah, we can research more after, like we can reach me on Twitter and then I can help you personally.
Right. Because this is, you have no idea. For me, this is, I've imported, I'll import it again. Just delete it and import it again. Let's see what happens. Oh my God, this is so amazing.
Great. Someone will not sleep today, I guess.
Oh no. No, I won't.
Oh yeah, you don't know Maria. You don't know her. You have no idea.
You know,
when she's obsessed with something.
Like, yeah, I used to, every year I used to learn a new skill. Then I found the party, and there are always here things to learn. So
yeah, great.
Yeah, so that's it. So I think we're good. So Eric, what do you think? Should we?
I'm really gonna do that soon.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,